Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Aged Out Reacts with two hosts of the Aged Out podcast, Mike Fantini and
Evan Worrell.
And today we have one of our final reaction videos that we were planning to do before WGI 2023 finals in a week and a half, really. We're almost there.
Yeah, it's coming up. Super excited. I know I posted on Instagram. Somebody commented they were excited, and I was like, yeah, work is going real slow. I'm just kind of anxious to get up there, see the groups, see some live drum lines. Always just when you're walking in the lot, that awesome feeling when you just hear it in the distance. It's like a ritual calling. It's like, come home.
Just gets the blood pumping, brings back so much nostalgia and memories, and it's just awesome. But today we're doing Dark Sky Percussion. Been waiting for a later season video of them. You know, we were planning on doing them earlier, but we didn't quite like the video that was up from like January, February, whenever it was. So we waited to do them till later in the season. And thank you, Robert Martinez, RBase311. Go subscribe to his channel for this awesome video. He's getting pretty fancy with his recording setups. He's doing like multicam stuff. And correct us in the comments, Robert, or text us or something. You have multi mics. Like, it just seems like you have a whole system in place at this point. It's super awesome. Go subscribe to his channel. Check out the podcast on all podcast services. You know, we just released our 2023 finals predictions podcast. It's on YouTube here, as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the usual places. Hit the join button, become a member. It helps support us financially to help us get to Dayton and back, to go to the shows, talk about it, cover it, all that good stuff. I think the only videos we haven't done that we were wanting to do was GMU and United, and there might be some GMU stuff out there we can do at this point, but there's a chance this might be our last reaction video before finals. I don't know. There might be one more. We'll find out, but have you seen any GMU or United stuff?
There's been some recent videos pop up, but they're old. They're new to YouTube, but they're from a few weeks ago, so nothing of late.
We might just leave those two and do United and GMU after finals, like we do with the high school groups and the top open groups and everything. Once that whole those divisions are play out. But all right, let's jump into this. I've seen a few things from Dark Sky. What's the name of the show?
Ad Astra.
I don't know what that means. All right.
I know there was a movie about it.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
The show is very like ethereal, however you say that word. Like
ethereal,
kind of otherworldly.
Yeah. I would say this music is very ethereal right now so far.
Right. Setting the mood, setting the tone.
On brand.
I love when drums sound good by themselves.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Nice little solos.
Big space environmentally.
They have a lot of that throughout this. Just subtle. Okay. Back up. Let's check out that subtle, delicate rough in the middle of that phrase. They just all added it in after the solos. Just pay attention to that. Had one there. Right there.
Another one.
Decent job handling. Sorry about that. Decent job handling that environmental change as those snare drummers interweave within each other. I got tongue-tied there, sorry. Interweave within each other. Each individual member has to adjust as they go in front or back or left, right, around each other. It's tough to keep your hands set throughout all that and your ears open.
Constantly changing listening environment. Couple little scratchy things to iron out over the last couple weeks here. They got a nice long weekend coming up. So.
And it was almost weird in that first phrase. They handled the couple isolated roughs that I pointed out in the middle of the phrase, and it was almost the more open, like eighth note fours or just like big open rhythms that they needed to hold on to a little more, or some of the slower double stroke figures that was a little scratchy. But I think that's the kind of stuff you can definitely work out in the next week or two. Good flam work. Everything I've heard so far has been really minor, like small little stuff in the snare line.
Poor quad drummers.
Oh,
Always getting
weight.
more.
I was
Always
getting
getting more things thrown on their
do we
drums.
really need to add more stuff to a set of quads or
I saw
quints
that
or whatever?
Vessel had a bunch of stuff on their drums too. They had like 3 like different like jam blocks.
If their backs weren't screwed enough, but
I mean, those things probably aren't
super heavy, but
it's ironic.
yeah. There's something. I'm gonna back up and listen to the end of that again. There was something I was gonna say, but I lost it.
There was like the space. Hold on, pause.
Go ahead.
The space when they come off the drum to play the implement, the tiny cymbal there, it does create like an interesting void in the tom sound before it like comes back in, because you just hear this very
Articulate.
yeah, like very high contrast difference, and like you just lose the tom sound. Then it creates an interesting space in like the head rhythms on the plastic, the mylar.
Yeah, the juxtaposition of sound is really cool.
You gotta get in.
Those isolated 5 strokes are tough. Good job with the paradiddle figures.
Good bass run over top of the low edge roll.
I missed that. I want to hear it. I'll listen to the paradiddle figures.
They kind of get out of the way for the bass line, but the rhythm supports. It's almost like the snare and quad rhythm supports the bass pop out. Oh, it's interesting.
Cool. I'll pay attention to that this time. Oh yeah.
There.
That's really cool. Yeah, it almost makes the... Wait a second. So, what you just pointed out there of the bass music overlaying the snare and quad stuff going into that bass feature right there we just listened to, it almost makes that phrase opposite of what it typically is. Typically, you'll see groups have the bass line support the flat line in some kind of dense paradiddle and roll like phrase like that, but it was almost like it was understated for the flat line, and the way the bass writing worked out is that it made you want to listen to the bass line over top of all that and really notice. And I think they were playing more at like the halfway to the edge, or at the edge, or like a lower dynamic volume in the flat world that made you really hear that bass line. It was a cool different way of doing that. Very delicate.
Lots of just different timbre and texture use.
Just practicing the transition in the attack.
Yep. Really solid phrase.
Considering how tough those single stroke 4s are, they handled almost all of those really well. There were a couple where it wasn't quite locked in, but that space is tough. You've got to feel the space together, prep together, attack together, and be aware of the entire battery around you to really consistently hit that, especially for how many of them they have. And it wasn't like you just get in there and play like 10 of them in a row. There were a couple, and then something else, then a couple more of those single 4s. So kudos. It's cool. They lined it up not even in just the snare line, but it was snares and quads playing, and I think there was bass that did it with them too.
Yeah. Hold on.
Good job with the marimbas there, feeling the 8th note spaces and those isolated 16th notes, especially at the beginning of those runs.
Yeah.
It was just like one count at a time.
A lot of the so far just
More isolated 4s.
yeah.
Have the solo start before the end of the phrase. Interesting.
Interesting.
Are there
Kinda hard to
some
tell.
times in that
Yeah.
where they're going back and forth between singling it and playing 2 isolated doubles? I
I
think
wasn't. I'm not sure. I wasn't paying attention to that. I was just trying to catch, I guess, compositionally, like the layering and like how they kind of overlap. Really, I would say the majority of like the inconsistencies or ticks that I've heard so far are just kind of coming off like extended amounts of space.
which is
Some of that could be difficult too, given how chaotic I heard that this lot environment was, and just being surrounded by so much noise and not being able to communicate super well. So, yeah, they're in there, but maybe they're better on the floor. We'll see.
yep.
So,
It's a good quad phrase.
yeah, pretty
Really
good.
well done.
Little cello rondo musically.
I like the concert snare over top of all those 16th note runs, mirroring it.
Nice decrescendo fade out in the front for
sure.
ensemble. Because like once they're in the phrase, it sounds really
Yeah.
good.
Solid roll. Yeah, they did a really good job that whole phrase of going back and forth between. There was a lot of flam vocabulary throughout that, but within it there was a bunch of paradiddle figures. They were having the hand pressure changes required to go from that more stuttered flam rudiment vocabulary to the flowy paradiddle figures. I can't talk tonight. I'm just getting paradiddles. Basically,
What rudiment is that?
I don't even know. Good job handling going back and forth from feeling flam vocabulary in your hands to paradiddle figures. It was well done. I'm going to shut up before I get caught on my words again.
The
Go ahead.
hybrid rudiment, the paradiddle.
The paradiddle. Trademark, Aged Out Podcast. Those are large beads on the end of that stick.
sticks are those? They got moleskin on the back?
Kind of rubber stuff.
Interesting.
Oh, that ripple's really cool. The dynamic ripple.
It's like an echo.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm usually not a fan of like splits on snare drums. Those kind of splits, like hand-to-hand stuff like that, a little more of a fan when it's like an AB 4-4 split, 5-4 split. But to not only maintain the rhythm hand-to-hand, the 16th notes, to decrescendo it together and maintain the rhythmic integrity. Cool.
Interesting section. Just the flip back and forth from the obviously the wood tip and the bead to the calfskin, moleskin backside, and just that was a cool ripple effect down. Kind of created the echo.
Yeah. Using dynamic ripple like that to create that effect was really creative.
Yeah.
Good from the quads. Grew well as a battery throughout that phrase to come to the top of that crescendo together.
Yeah.
Their quad line's good. I think their quads are solid, man.
Yeah, and this video is definitely a pretty drastic improvement from the one
Without
I
a
saw
doubt.
prior, just as far as the consistency all the way through. Definitely makes me feel better about my 15 or getting them into finals pick.
I was going to bring that up when we have like a minute left here in this video. We'll play it here in a second, but I was going to get to that. I said, because I said earlier I previewed this before we recorded this here now, and I'm feeling pretty confident about the call that they'll make finals. I'll be pretty surprised at this point if they don't. I think they play well. When the sound is locked in, the battery blend is really good.
And it's very delicate. It's going to be definitely a different vibe from the shows around it, I feel like.
A lot of the battery book is written so delicately, especially with the interplay front to back in the whole percussion ensemble, and they have a lot of moments that are so understated that it makes the big moments and the crescendos really hit that much more when they reach the peak. That from an effect standpoint is really cool, and I can't wait to see it live on the floor in 9 days, 10 days, whatever it is.
9 days, however long. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we'll finish the last minute here, and then we'll close this out. I've enjoyed this so far thoroughly, honestly.
Good communication. Where's the other person he's playing with on the front ensemble? Looks like the other side.
They play flams well.
Oh, this is that same section. That was a better rep than the first one, too.
Yep.
Yeah, all around better rep.
Yep.
Good dynamic shaping in the bases. That lost the little cymbals.
Lost them or took them off?
Took them off.
Yeah,
Nice.
better rip from the quads too.
Yeah, I think they're going to be ready.
Yep. I think they're primed for they go at the beginning of the second group on prelims day, right? So they're in the first.
I think they go at the end of the first
one?
block.
Okay. I don't have my laptop.
I think they're at the end of the first half of the first round, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I follow.
Should be like 15 groups, and they go in like the 7 or 8 spot or something like that.
Yeah. I think so. I think you'll see them. You mentioned this in our predictions podcast. You'll see them in that 16 to 20 range because they go earlier in the day.
Potentially.
They'll make semis, and then I think you'll see them jump after semis up into that top 15 range. I think both of us had them at 15, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But
might change.
They could change. Yeah.
They could be higher than 15, honestly. You and I have been talking a lot about, even in the week since we recorded and released that prediction podcast.
I would already change some
There's
stuff.
a couple that I would already change. And we'll talk about that when we do our post-finals podcast and see how everything shook out. But
that's what's fun about it. It's fine.
Yeah. So, well, I'm good if you are. That was fun. I enjoyed that. We will maybe see everyone for a GMU recording. Possibly not. If not, this might be our last reaction before finals. We'll see. But thanks for hanging out. Hit the join button, subscribe, comment, like. Are we dumb? Are we smart? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Share the video with your friends and anyone that might enjoy it. We appreciate the viewership and Facebook, Instagram, and we will see everybody in the next one.
Peace.